building a good feeling morning routine, and how do we go about that? So, I used to be the kind of person who definitely stayed up too late because I felt like, well, my work is done, so this is my time. And I would enjoy binge watching TV and chilling out and hanging out with friends and going out late because I thought, well, I've finished my work, so this is when I get to do things. But I think, as we all know, it doesn't feel great in the morning, right? And I started reading a book called Think and Grow Rich by Pam Grout, and I was very dedicated to it because she's such a fun writer. She has a nice, loose style. And when I was reading it, I couldn't help but think, like, I would read it on a break at work, and I would feel really good at that point for most of the day after that. And I thought, wow, like maybe I could do something like this earlier. Like maybe I could make time for myself before I start my workday. Shock. So for me, the change started when I decided I know I need to drink more water. I know that I drink too much coffee and pop and stuff like that. So I made a promise to myself and I started drinking 2 glasses of water in the morning. And very quickly after that, I had been just deciding that I wanted to begin a meditation practice, start meditating. So I was doing short guided meditations on Insight Timer, which I still use, which is great. I just thought, well, I'll just dabble, right? So I was starting to just start with short ones, 6 minute increment meditations. And as a lifelong journaler, I would journal at work when we were slow. I would be, as I was studying, that was when I started to study Abraham Hicks, and I was working on building momentum with good feeling thoughts, as Abraham will talk about. So I was journaling at work already. So then I thought, oh, I could journal in the morning. And one of the people I had met online offered a challenge, a 1 week challenge of building a good morning routine of the water, of the journaling, of meditating. And then she had added some sort of movement into hers as well. And I was working with a guy from India, and we had been talking about yoga. And I had always, up until then, struggled with being consistent in morning movement, or movement that wasn't walking. I did a lot of walking as a pedestrian. Walking hours and hours is no big deal, but movement that was just for me, that was strength training or what have you, was something I wasn't great at being consistent at over a very long period of time. I would definitely do it, and I would definitely be interested in it, and I've definitely done the personal trainer route, and I've definitely gone to gyms, and I've definitely bought equipment and used it at home, but it was the long period of time consistency that I lacked. I wasn't doing that. But yoga started calling my name, and when the pandemic happened, then it really felt like it was time for it to call my name. We weren't working, at least I wasn't. I had the time. This was that time. So I started doing yoga. So at that time, so that was 2 years into building a better morning routine for me. And it's like, yeah, not only can I journal and drink water and meditate, I can yoga. I can practice some yoga asani moves because that was all I knew of yoga at the time. Um, and I can start, doing that for myself as well. So over time, what this has turned into, and depends on how busy my day is, but it's either the 2 glasses of water, settle down to meditate, or do the yoga, because sometimes doing the yoga feels better, sometimes doing the meditation feels better. So I allow myself to flow into which thing feels better, but I have standard movements that I do every morning. I practice yoga later in the day sometimes as well, as I'm studying yoga teacher training, but my morning routine is pretty set by now. So it was just, BJ Hogue calls it habit stacking. So where you just add habits, or sorry, BJ Fogg, I'm sorry. You habit stacking one on top of the other. Once one is really solid, then you just start throwing on habits on top that you'd like to do. So for me, of course, the water was my foundation. I knew I needed to drink more water, and now I pretty much exclusively drink water, or iced coffee with nothing in it or tea that I've brewed with no added sugar, because I found, since I do tend to enjoy eating sugar, maybe I should make sure I don't drink it as well. So I brew my own iced tea now, which I think is great because I like variety, which is part of my issue with liking too much sugar. So, but if I have the brewed iced tea, then I have the flavor, but not the calories, which is great. Not that I count calories, because I don't, but just these little things that make me feel better, right? And one of the iced teas I brew is Greek Mountain Tea, which is good for inflammation and it's good for autoimmune stuff. So I make sure I drink that probably on the daily. Anyway, for me, it was the water habit came absolutely first. And then the journaling came after that. And then the meditation. And then the yoga. And then in October of last year, I needed more of a structured workout, but I needed to be short because I would do workouts, but I wasn't consistent. So now I just have a short body movement, body weight workout, with a tiny bit of like high intensity interval stuff, so that I can make it longer if I like, obviously, or I can make it shorter. I follow Mike Chang on Instagram. That's where I got his moves. So I just added it on top of my morning yoga. So now what my morning routine looks like, if I'm really flowing and I don't have a lot that I have to do work-wise, it can be kind of a nice hour and a half, 2 hour routine, 2 hour good feeling routine. But when we don't have a lot of time, I can make it 20 to half an hour, 20 minutes to 30 minutes, right around there, with the mainstays always being the meditation, the yoga, and the now the workout. But the meditation, the yoga, the workout, the water. And with journaling, I have talked about it before. I'm not sure if I published that video yet. I do have a short journal exercise I like to do that just gets me pumped up for the day. And so if I don't have time, because sometimes I like to just do what Abraham Hicks calls list of positive aspects. Sometimes I like to just milk good feeling thoughts and allow more good feeling thoughts to join. Another activity of theirs is fun and clarity pages. I used to do those a lot. That's very fun. So, talking broad, statements that feel good about the sun being up, about being on the planet, about being alive, about breathing and what a gift that is, about our hearts beating through the night, and then allow it to just snowball down the hill with more good feeling, right? Allow the momentum to roll with more good feeling and get into relationships that we have that we're really pleased about and happy that we have and that we enjoy, and the people in our lives that we appreciate, great TV shows that we love, food we enjoy to eat, the food in our cupboards, the food in our fridge, the clothes on our backs, the clothes in our closet, anything that makes us feel good, that we know, well, this is abundance, this is what I'm blessed to have these things, I wear my blessings well, as Joel Osteen would say, the roof over my head, the privacy in this room, etc., etc. So that's a journal prompt of theirs that you can take different ways. Of course, if I'm having, sometimes with TV and film, it's long days and I have a long commute before I get to said day, I will just truncate it. So I'll just make sure that I do my water. I'll make sure that I do I have a 12-minute meditation, guided meditation I like, that I do on Insight Timer, and that's Rodney Yee. So if I know that I can kind of squeeze it in, I'll make that happen. And then I split up my yoga and my workout. So I'll just do my workout at lunch, and I'll do at least the moves. I do some moves in bed yoga. I'll do those moves, and then I'll split up the workout and split up the rest of the yoga for lunch, because obviously when your free time outside of your work hours is very short on either end, you kind of have to make adjustments. But my probably my favorite time to do this practice and just really soak myself into it. I usually like about an hour and a half because I don't like to rush from one activity to the next. Our brains take time to switch from one activity to the next. That's why multitasking is kind of not really a thing. I'm sure you've read productivity books. Um, our brain must be focused really on one thing until we tell it to switch. And when we do tell it to switch, there's a buffer of time before we're right into the next one. So, anyway, those are some of the things that I do in my morning routine. I invite you to try something that works for you, but starting with something that you find, starting with something that you, starting with something that's most important to you is really helpful, but make it easy. So for me, it was the water. How hard is it to drink 2 glasses of water? We all know we're dehydrated when we get up. And as we realize that as we get older, it's easier and easier to take care of that because I just drink water, right? So sometimes I think being young is okay, all the sugary pop, all of it in my face, all the candy, right? That's what we enjoy. And it's okay to enjoy that because you know what? Just enjoy it. And then as we get a little older, it's like, well, okay, so that doesn't feel great, but I can make choices that do feel great. And water is one of those choices. So that's a little bit about how to build a better feeling morning routine. Oh, fun fact, I never set an alarm anymore. I have a what I call a holy shit alarm when I'm working on TV and film. And of course, you have to be on time. If you're on time, you're late. You have to be early, essentially. So I do have a holy shit alarm, but I generally don't set an alarm because it's such a bummer. And like the idea of alarm, we call it an alarm, gross. So, waking up to the new day of your new life, or waking up to the new day of your life and being alarmed out of sleep is such a bummer. Like, no wonder I was hitting a snooze button because it's so off-putting. So for me, that comes down, of course, to building a better evening routine and a better nighttime routine. And we can talk about that too. But anyway, building a better morning routine, just some ideas to try. Thanks.